So good morning. I have two announcements. Next Sunday, following our post-service chat with Robin Cappuccino, that's on February 13th, there will be an information session held by the board. So this is one good reason to read Friday notes. I'm on the board, but I had somehow missed that little bit of information. So since I did read Friday notes, I know that we will be discussing UUFO's interest in encouraging community ministry through Reverend Fulgence and his work in the larger community. Consider joining this discussion as we explore the community ministry program that's basically run by the CUC. Quote, community ministers might work with people who are homeless or in need. They may serve in a prison or hospital. They may run an environmental organization or work in the arts. Wherever they are and whatever they do, they strive to bring our dream of a connected, inclusive world into being. So that's next Sunday after the service. I have another announcement. The fellowship has been approached by a former attendee at our services who is helping a person with disabilities to locate housing. If you know of any possible opportunities, please contact Sarah or somebody from the caring circle. So good morning. So as I mentioned, please read Friday notes, if only to remind yourselves of how interesting a congregation we are. Connect with whatever appeals to you and consider adding your own event, program, or happening to our lively list. A big thank you to the worship team. Okay, I think I mentioned this before once, not just thank you, but you need to love your worship team because it takes a lot to put these services on every Sunday. And that includes me. You can love me too, because I'm part of the team. It is. And so yeah, the worship team was Sarah in the wings, by the way, doing set design, costume, and prompt. Her title at UUFO is Programs and Administration Coordinator. I have the happy feeling that she gently coordinates everything at UUFO. Most of us are living on the unceded and unsurrendered territory belonging to the Anishinaabe and Algonquin peoples. We mention this at every service because maybe the reminder will help us to understand and achieve reconciliation with the peoples who were here first and whose perennial petition invites us to join them in keeping this land alive for the next 7 generations. Today, our guest speaker is Moon Joyce, whose innate ministry is music. Almost 2 decades ago, she was captivated by New Brunswick's natural beauty, and she moved to Fredericton to make her paintings and her music between paddles on the Nashwauk River. We should have a few minutes at the end of the service to speak with Moon, maybe ask her what's the best thing about living in Fredericton. We begin our service with a song called Sanctuary by Carrie Newcomer. Thank you, Sarah.
Will you be my refuge, my haven in the storm? Will you keep the embers warm when my fire's all but gone?
Bienvenue, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Ottawa, casually known as UUFO. My name's Allison Calvern, and I'll be your service leader for this morning. We hope you feel welcome here. We are lay-led and like to consider ourselves to be thoughtful towards the planet and the universe, thoughtful towards our fellow citizens, whatever their background or complexity of being, and thoughtful towards ideas and practices that fill the world. We like to think that we pay attention to our own privilege, recognizing our responsibility to share that privilege with those who have less. Nous espérons que vous vous sentirez les bienvenus ici. Nous sommes dirigés par des laïcs et nous aimons nous considérer comme réfléchis envers la planète et l'univers, réfléchis envers nos concitoyens, quel que soit leur milieu ou leur complexité d'être, et réfléchis envers les idées et les pratiques qui remplissent le monde. Nous aimons penser que nous faisons attention à nos propres privilèges, tout en reconnaissant notre responsabilité de partager ces privilèges avec ceux qui ont moins. We light our chalice with the words of Richard Wagamese from his book, Embers, one Ojibwe's Meditations. There are motions of the heart that occur only in quiet rooms, in the splendor of solitude, where nothing and everything exists at the same time. Then you feel yourself part of the great wheel of creative, nurturing, loving, benevolent energy that is spinning around us all the time. That's what it is. That's what it means to be spiritual. To feel your spirit moving. In this stillness, I am the trees alive with singing. I am the sky everywhere at once. I am the light everywhere descending. I am my spirit rising. I am my prayers and my meditation. And I am fully captured in this now, traveling on a sacred journey through this one shining day. And now we have a song by Moon.
The first song was by one of my favorite songwriters, Carrie Newcomer, and this is another one of her songs, A Light in the Window. And I wanted to preface this by saying that I'm speaking from Wabanaki territory, the home of the Mi'kmaq, Wolastoqey, Penobscot, and Beskinabakadi. And in this territory, trees are referred to as the standing people. And so when Richard Wagamese is talking about, I am the trees alive with singing, it gives a depth to that term.
Looking out at the night beyond the driver's wheel, curving hips made of snow in the winter fields.
Okay, I'm in the wrong key. My guitar's in the right key and I'm singing higher. Hold on.
Looking out at the night beyond the driver's wheel, curving hips made of snow in the winter fields. There's a house set way back beyond the lamplight glows like a star out in the cold, filled with people I'll never know, who left a light in the window. the choice were mine, I was doing the best I could at the time. And every door that was opened and door that closed, all the things that made me grow, sent me off down another road to look for a light, in the window. Now the old has already passed away, but the new is too new to be born today. So I'm throwing out seeds on the winter snow as a cold wind begins to blow. Standing here on a new threshold, I can see a light, there's a light in the window. And the world is made of stone, and the world is made of glass, and the world is made of light, and it's moving very fast. We pass from mystery to mystery, so I won't lie. I don't know what happens when people die, but I hope that I see you walking slow, smiling wide as the sunrise grows. Drop my map with 1,000 folds. In the distance I see it glow. There's a light, there's a light, there's a light in the window.
Thank you, Moon. These are words by Richard Rohr. All great spirituality is about what we do with pain. By trying to handle all suffering through willpower, denial, medication, or even therapy, we have forgotten something that should be obvious. We do not handle suffering. Suffering handles us in deep and mysterious ways that ironically become the very matrix of life. Suffering, and sometimes awe, has the most power to lead us into genuinely new experiences. So these are the words of Martha Nabatian, which seem to me to be perfect for joys and sorrows. So these stones have witnessed love, indifference, brokenness, and healing. They are holders of wisdom and memory. I place into this bowl one stone for each of the spoken joys, one stone for our spoken sorrows, and one stone for all that remains unspoken. Let them be received by this soothing water that represents our caring community. So our children's story today is also a song.
We're gonna celebrate your party with you. Come on. Celebration. Let's all celebrate and have a good time. Celebration. We're gonna celebrate and have a good time. It's time to come together. It's up to you. What's your pleasure? Everyone around the world, come on! Yeah. It's your celebration. Celebrate good times, come on! Celebrate good times, come on!
There's a party going on right here, a celebration to last throughout the years.
So bring your good times and your laughter too.
We gon' celebrate your party with you. Come on now.
We're gonna have a good time tonight. Let's celebrate. It's alright. Celebrate good times, come on. Celebrate good times, come on. We gonna celebrate your party with you. Come on.
Among the diverse groups that Moon Joyce has worked with are women survivors of violence and women in prisons. She is a multidisciplinary artist, musician, and educator, leading groups in singing as well as group songwriting and performing. Moon's use of music through the Outward Bound Women of Courage program led to her master's and doctoral research on how music enlivens, enlarges, and changes our condition when we are in a place of transition and growth. Her research reveals the social and spiritual power that music making has for building community and reducing the stress of isolation and depression. Moon wrote and recorded the album The Infinite Edge and has facilitated musical collaborations in numerous other community-based projects since her years as a full-time entertainer.
I'm still stuck on that song. Celebrate good times, come on! I can't think of a better endorsement for music education than that playing for change. That was wonderful. Oh, and thank you for the introduction, Allison. So I'm going to give you some background. I've sung my whole life since I can remember 3 years old starting to sing. And so for me, it's always been such a natural thing, like laughing. But for other people, it's a scary thing. I've had people say, I'd rather stand before you naked than actually sing in front of you. And I don't know how many of you are nervous about singing, but it was something that I came to recognize that not everybody feels comfortable. And I was a performer, I still do it, but I was so excited about singing that song, I started in the wrong key because I got, my voice went up. But anyway, I love the fact that our voices are the muscle of the soul, so says Alfred Wolfson from the late 1800s. He was he was a singing coach. And our connection to the world is through the voice. When a baby begins its first breath and it begins to cry, the baby, you can't imagine that out of this little tiny creature can come such volume. And so that voice is how we connect to the world, and it comes from the core of our being. It's the way that we are heard, and it brings our presence into the world. So part of my background, I was a performer, and I songwriter and touring and concerts and all of that. But at the same time, I was working with women who are survivors of violence through Outward Bound, which is an outdoor adventure-based personal growth kind of experience. And a group of women and myself, instructors, started that program in the mid-'80s. And I found that I've always kind of done campfire songs, and I would use music with these women, and often for many of them that were coming out of urban areas, they'd never been camping before, sleeping on the ground, peeing in the woods, it was all very strange, and often the stress and anxiety levels are pretty high. So that first night was often fraught for the women, and I would, as they were getting settled in their tents and in their sleeping bags, I'd go around and there was a lullaby that I would sing. I will be singing it for you here. It would help the women to settle. And the next morning we'd chat about it, and they wanted to know about it. And, some of the women said, I can't remember the last time anybody sang me a lullaby. And they were moved by this. And then I would use singing for just playfulness, singing "Do run, 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 do run, run" around the fire, and have just joy, right? Just play. And women started to sing. When they started to feel comfortable and trusting, they would sing, and it became a real healing part of what happened on these courses. And I had taught a lot of courses with a lot of different groups, but I hadn't seen that kind of impact, because the voice comes from the body. And if you've been violated or you've experienced violence, it's on the body. And so a lot of survivors have a hard time with voice or being in the body and what all of that brings up. So the singing together as a group became something much larger than I'd ever seen before, experienced before. Lullabies, I would think, have to be the oldest form of singing, because mothers have always had to comfort their babies, right? So I reflected on these things afterwards. And that's what led me into doing my graduate studies, to look at singing as a healing force, comforting. There's so many purposes to which we sing, and one of them being spiritual, of course. What's spiritual practice? So before I get on to that, I want to tell you a brief story about one incident. Not an incident, it was an enlightening thing. It was near the end of the course, and it was our day for rock climbing and rappelling off a cliff. Okay, so I don't know where your anxiety level is right now to envision that, but these women were rock climbing. And there was one woman who kept getting stuck. She was stuck on the cliff. There was one crux move, and she'd have to let go of 2 points of contact, not just one point of contact, to make that next grab. And she would have what we call piano fingers and sewing machine leg, right? When you're just that scared. She tried several times, and then she called down to the group, and she said, if anybody's down there and is free, could you sing me the lullaby? And the women said, you bet, yeah. So the women all along the bottom of the cliff that were belaying other climbers and people that were free and not climbing, they sang, and their voices sang and the sound carried up, and she was able to calm herself. And then she was able to make that move, and where she was, she said, is she was in that place where she had been left to die, where she had been abandoned after being hurt. And so that was the power that gave her to make that move, and she just climbed up to the top of that climb, yelling out the name of the perpetrator or whatever. And, you know, I won't say any of the other words that she used, but let me tell you that she found her power. And when she came down, it was just something had been released in that. But I loved that notion of the lullaby, that was what she wanted. She wanted that contact. And they had all learned it by that point, right? Because it ended up being a favorite song. Doesn't happen with every group, but that particular one it did. So I just wanted to share that story with you and go back to this idea of spiritual traditions that I've done some traveling in Muslim countries, and I love the call to prayer. Now, to hear that voice going out into the air, and everybody throughout the day hearing that call to pay attention and to pray or go into that space, into that spiritual space. The cantors in the Jewish tradition, choirs, Christian music, the Hindu raga, the ragas in India. There's so much that is expressed through that. Sometimes they say when we sing, we pray twice. But I think that there is something about the act of singing itself that's all about vibration. And there is a woman named Laurel Keyes, who back in the 60s, she had been doing a lot of work around voice and healing. And she wrote a book called Toning. And toning is where you sing a tone. It doesn't matter what the pitch is, but you have a chance to go in and just feel that vibration in your body. And we're going to do this here. You're going to tone along with me. And try and think of it like an internal massage at the cellular level. That's basically what it is. So I'm going to sing a long tone. I'm going to take a nice deep breath. I want you to relax. You're going to be muted, so you don't have to feel shy about doing this. But I want you to be open and relaxed. You're going to take a nice long breath. And as you hear me, you just come along, and it doesn't matter what pitch it is. You can be on my pitch. You can find your own. And find something that feels good as you're doing it, okay? So go in, and if you feel comfortable, you might feel more comfortable closing your eyes, and just let that sound come from deep down inside, okay? Are you ready? We have a thumbs up. Everybody good with that? Okay. So here we go. Take a nice deep breath in. Feel yourself. Now, you don't have to go as long as I go. You can stop when you run out of air and just start again. Pick another note, okay? It's all your experience here, right? So don't worry about matching me or doing any of that. I'll keep going. I'll try some different vowel sounds, different notes, whatever feels good. It's about the feeling, and I want you to feel. I want you to just allow that vibration to happen in your chest. Okay, here we go. Breathing in, nice and full. Okay. If you have any comments and you want to put it in the chat, what did you feel? What did you sense in that exercise? Any thoughts? Relaxed and open. Vitality. I could only follow you, Moon, and it seems like a great grounding technique. That was fun. It was lovely. That's great. It was lovely. That's great. Being on the same pitch. Dreamlike. I hope you're reading these comments. It's great. Right on. So everything's good. Following me, not following me. This is something you can do for yourself. And I don't know how, if you're meditators, sometimes meditation doesn't really work, but sound, there's something about sound. And you can do it on your own. You can do it and hold a bowl near amplify your voice. But any of you feel the vibration? Did you feel that? Did you feel your breath open up? Yes. So when I do this with a group, imagine you Unitarians are all back in your space again, and you gather in a circle, and you do this as a group. And the sound comes together, even if the pitches are different pitches. It's so powerful, so beautiful. And we really are massaging ourselves at the cellular level. In fact, sound is being used in science and in medicine for healing. So we are sound-making machines. The voice is the perfect instrument. And so that's a little something for you to take away. And as a stress buster, these are hard times. We're isolated and all of that, but we can use our voices. So there's one little thing. How am I doing for time? Let me know. So I'll keep on talking and I'll get the message as to when I need to stop. Yes.
Hi, Moon, it's good. It's 17 minutes after.
Okay.
We only have a little bit after you finish, so please.
Okay. All right. Thanks. I could go on. So group singing has a lot of power, and it's been used, of course. Every social justice movement has written songs. We think of the songs of Victor Jara in Chile, civil rights, the music that came out of that. It's when groups come together, it's often expressed through song. The thing about singing is it's holistic. All of our capabilities are exercised. It utilizes both the left and right side of the brain, which is one of the reasons why it's used with people who have had a stroke or dementia. It's one of the ways that it's through hearing that we connect the left and right side. It's happening simultaneously. And so that it's a way that we are able to communicate ideas as well. And so that idea that we can, as a group, so community singing became of great interest to me. And so I left performing and got more excited about getting people to sing and to work with the so-called non-singers, right? The ones who are really shy about singing. That's been a very rewarding thing for me, to help people find their voice, find joy in it, find comfort in it, use it to celebrate. I met a woman, Michelle George is a friend of mine in Toronto, is a voice teacher and healer. And what she learned was that in You know, in mainstream society or dominant culture, it's often more socially acceptable to not sing than to sing. But as we know, there are parts of the world where singing is normal. And if you aren't singing, then there's something, they're worried that maybe you're sick. I think about this in some rural communities in Africa where, well, you saw it in the video, like singing and dancing and moving together is normal. And if you don't do it, like, they're going to worry about you. I think about Outport, Newfoundland, where so much of the culture there is done in community because of the isolation. You know, knowing that, I feel like we can do this thing. We can connect through music and singing. And I think I'm coming close to the end here, and I think we opened up a bit of space so you can ask me some questions. And I'm just going to close, I think, with the lullaby that we sang, and it goes like this. It's by Chris Williamson. Like a ship in the harbor, like a mother and child, like a light in the darkness, I'll hold you a while. We'll rock on the water, I'll cradle you deep and hold you while angels sing you to sleep. Like a ship in the harbor. If you want to sing along, I'll line it out for you. Like a ship in the harbor, like a mother and child, like a mother and child, like a light in the darkness, like a light in the darkness, I'll hold you a while. We'll rock on the water, we'll rock on the water, I'll cradle you deep, I'll cradle you deep, and hold you while angels, and hold you while angels sing you to sleep, sing you to sleep. Bravo. And the last quote that I have for you is by Issei Barnwell from Sweet Honey in the Rock, who says, "You cannot sing a song and not change your condition." So I'll leave you with that.
Well, thank you so much, Moon. That group, Sweet Honey in the Rock, that you just mentioned, one of their songs was chosen by Robin Cappuccino to be used next week. So we're interweaving our Sundays throughout the month. So could you sing me that lullaby? What a great phrase from a wonderful story. Thank you so much, Moon. For our offertory, I have some words by Thich Nhat Hanh. We are very good at preparing to live, but not very good at living. We know how to sacrifice 10 years for a diploma, and we are willing to work very hard to get a job, a car, a house, and so on. But we have difficulty remembering that we are alive in the present moment, the only moment there is for us to be alive. Well, UUFO is alive in this present moment, and part of being alive, part of our weekly living, relies on the lonely little collection baskets way back at the sanctuary. I do hope we can return to the sanctuary soon and begin again to pass that basket among us. I always liked that when we were sitting there and we had to pass it around, and sometimes you weren't sure if it was going behind you or whatever, but I like those little baskets. And they're very lonely right now, but meanwhile, checks and e-transfers are greatly accepted. We have some closing words. A poem by Pat Schneider that speaks of patience as a kind of love. I hadn't heard of Pat Schneider till I came across this poem. She's an American woman. She died in 2020, and it almost breaks my heart that I didn't get to know her ahead of time through her work, and now I can get to know her. Patience of ordinary things. It is a kind of love, is it not? How the cup holds the tea. How the chair stands sturdy and four-square. How the floor receives the bottom of shoes or toes. How soles of feet know where they're supposed to be. I've been thinking about the patience of ordinary things. How clothes wait respectfully in closets, and soap dries quietly in the dish, and towels drink the wet from the skin of our back, and the lovely repetition of stairs. And what then is more generous than a window? We extinguish the flame, but not imagination, not hope, and not love, for these carry us until next we meet. Nous éteignons la flamme, mais pas l'imagination, pas l'espoir, et non pas l'amour, qui nous porteront jusqu'à la semaine prochaine. Our postlude is a zipper song written by Moon. We are whole and we are holy. And she will lead and we will respond. And you'll notice in the chat that Sarah Hope is going to be plunking in the words of this song. And Zoom, go ahead, tell us how it works.
Okay, thank you. So this song I created in 1990 in Toronto at the memorial at the 519 for all of the people who had died of AIDS, and that's where the song started. And basically it's a zipper song in the sense that you can make up and insert new verses is how that works. So I'll teach you, and I'd like you to sing along at home. You're muted there, so you can have at her. It goes like this. I'll sing the first line determines the verse. The one part that repeats the same is walking in the shadow or walking in the light. And I'd just like to thank Allison for inviting me to be with you today. It's been really awesome. We are whole and we are holy. We are whole and we are holy. Walking in the shadow, walking in the light. We are whole and we are holy. So that's the whole song. And the next verse we're going to do is we are here and we are living. I can see some of you there clapping and singing. Wonderful. I can see you. I can't hear you, but I can see you. We are here and we are living. We are here and we are living. Walking in the shadow. sing a song, and if you think of a verse, or a line, I should say, you've got a line you feel inspired for us to sing, you can write it into the chat, and I'll lead it, okay? So you can have a little bit of interaction there too. So the next verse I'm going to lead is, we are listening with a heart that's open. We are listening with a heart that's open. We are listening with a heart that's open. Walking in the shadow, walking in the light. We are listening with a heart that's open. We have just one world to live in. We have just one world to live in. We have just one world to live in. Walking in the shadow, walking in the light. We have just one world to live in. Now I see Leanne has written in her line here, we can see with our lives to bless. Oh, we can see with our lives to bless. We can see with our lives to bless. Walking in the shadow, walking in the light. We can see with our lives to bless. We are planning for generations. We are planning for generations. We are planning for generations. Walking in the shadow, walking in the light. We are planning for generations. I'm going to throw in a new one here because we're talking so much about light. We are light forever shining. We are light forever shining. We are light forever shining. Walking in the shadow, walking in the light. We are light forever shining. Any new verses out there? Last verse then. We are all mind, body, and spirit. We are all mind, body, and spirit. Walking in the shadow, walking in the light. We are all mind, body, and spirit. For we are whole, and we are holy. We are whole, and we are holy. Yeah, walking in the shadow, walking in the light. We are whole, and we are holy. Three more times. We are whole, and we are holy. Feel it inside. We are whole, and we are holy. Together, we are whole, and we are holy.